What you're about to discover about Russia will leave you completely speechless. Have you ever heard of the famous Russian escorts who dominate elite circles worldwide? Well, what you don't know is that many of them come from secret regions of Russia that nobody ever talks about. These hidden territories host some of the most beautiful and mysterious women in the world. But the truth behind these lands is much darker than you imagine. In a moment, I'll reveal secrets that could completely change your perception of Russia, including the reason why Putin is desperately trying to erase these cultures forever. But first, you need to know something that will keep you glued to the screen. The Russia we all know extends across vast lands of Europe, the Middle East, and all of Asia, sharing borders with major countries. But there's a less explored side of Russia, hidden within its own autonomous republics. There are 22 of these republics, real countries within the country, each with its own official language, institutions, and control over natural resources. But what you'll discover next will make you understand why Putin wants to eliminate them completely. These republics offer a unique and diversified vision of Russia, far beyond the stereotype we often perceive. They have distinct and fascinating cultures, a mosaic of traditions that unfortunately is slowly disappearing. I'll tell you the reasons behind this complex phenomenon now, but instead of tackling all 22 republics at once, we'll explore some of the most intriguing ones. Starting with Crimea. Crimea is a Russian republic with internationally disputed status. In 2014, after the Ukrainian Revolution that ousted President Viktor Yanukovych, Russia annexed Crimea, triggering a conflict that involved separatist forces and Russian military. But what they've never told you is much more shocking. The controversial referendum held throughout Crimea, considered illegal by Ukrainian constitutions, addressed the crucial question of reunification with Russia, officially presenting over 90% support. However, the vote was marked by boycotts from many Ukraine loyalists, being declared illegitimate by Western governments and the UN. Despite the controversies, Russia formally annexed Crimea on March 18, 2014, incorporating the Republic of Crimea and the federal city of Sevastopol as federal subjects of Russia numbers 84 and 85. But what happened next will leave you breathless. After these events, Ukraine decided to cut the North Crimean Canal that previously supplied 85% of Crimea's drinking water. This measure resulted in a drastic reduction in the region's cultivated area, dropping from 130,000 square kilometers in 2003 to just 14,000 in 2017. Crimea is geographically unique, connected to Ukraine only by a narrow isthmus, a strip of land just 5 kilometers wide that almost turns it into an island. It's also characterized by its majestic mountains and subtropical climate, elements often unexpected when thinking about Russia. The presence of Crimean Tatars also stands out, a predominantly Muslim ethnic minority that represented about 10% of the population in 2014. But their history hides a terrible drama that Putin doesn't want you to know. The Crimean Tatars faced a harsh reality when they were forcibly expelled to Central Asia by Joseph Stalin's government as a form of collective punishment. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the Crimean Tatars began returning to the region. But now let's move on to discover the coldest and most mysterious republic. Yakutia, or Sakha, is the largest political entity in the world that isn't a sovereign nation. If it were considered as a country, it would occupy the 8th position, ranking between Argentina and India in terms of territorial extension. Yakutia's capital is the frigid Yakutsk, considered the coldest city in the world with an average temperature of -8 degrees Celsius and lows that can reach -38 degrees Celsius in January. But what this frozen land hides will amaze you. The city is built on continuous permafrost and is famous for hosting diamond mines like the 2017 diamond mine. But not everything that glitters is gold, and soon you'll understand why. The Yakuts represent about 50% of the population, followed by 38% Russians and various other minorities. This region has 2 official languages, Russian and Yakut, with the latter spoken by about 40% of the population. Bashkortostan. Bashkortostan is another intriguing republic with a population of about 4 million people, making it the most populous among Russian republics. It presents impressive geography composed of 27 lakes, 13,000 rivers, and various mountains. The capital hosts about a quarter of the population and is where you'll find Russia's largest oil refineries. But there's something much more shocking you need to know about this region. Dagestan. Speaking of religion, we cannot fail to highlight Russia's most diverse republic, Dagestan. This republic is located north of Azerbaijan with a coast on the Caspian Sea. It hosts more than 30 ethnic groups and 81 nationalities, being considered one of Russia's most linguistically and ethnically diverse republics. Although ethnically diverse, it's not as diverse in terms of religion, since 83% of the population follows the same religion, which is not the Orthodox Christianity predominant in the rest of Russia. Instead, the people of Dagestan follow Islam. But now comes the most shocking part of the entire video. The centralization of power in Russia began 2 decades ago with Vladimir Putin's election on March 26, 2000. This was the beginning of a period of vast reforms to centralize authority in the federal government and align all Republican laws with the Russian Constitution. Putin established federal districts to exercise federal control over the republics. And over the years, there was a gradual loss of autonomy for Republican governments. In June 2018, a law was passed that reduced the status of the Russian language at the expense of other official languages in the republics. All this suggests Putin's determination to completely eliminate the republics, their cultures, and languages to obtain total control over all of Russia. Faced with this situation, the republics might not survive much longer. Russia's history. If we go back in time, perhaps we wouldn't think that one day some Slavic tribes would unite to become one of Europe's strongest countries. It all began with Slavic tribes living in villages and fighting among themselves, until in the 9th century a city called Kiev became the center of a powerful state known as Kievan Rus. In the 10th century, Russia witnessed the arrival of the Mongols led by the Golden Horde under the command of Genghis Khan and his successors. However, despite adversities, Russia didn't surrender and resisted Mongol rule. In the 17th century, Peter the Great played a fundamental role in the country's transformation. His visionary and reformist leadership marked an era of significant modernization in Russia, including the construction of the impressive city of St. Petersburg. In the 19th century, Russia experienced significant events such as Napoleon's invasion. The Russian campaign of 1812 proved to be a disaster for Napoleon and his forces due to severe weather conditions and the retreat tactic adopted by the Russian army. Internal tensions culminated in significant revolts such as the 1905 Revolution and the 1917 Revolution, which led to the fall of Tsar Nicholas II and the establishment of a government led by the Bolsheviks under Vladimir Lenin. Lenin's importance to Russia was so great that to this day his body is preserved in his mausoleum under Vladimir Putin's current government. According to some sources, $173,000 is spent annually to maintain the communist body in perfect condition. The fall of the Soviet Union occurred in 1991, ending the world's largest communist state. Today, Russia remains a country with many unique aspects that are challenging to understand completely, while the government maintains its firm position in its decisions regarding the conflict with Ukraine.